I want to call the order to the regular meeting for February 20th, 2024. We'll start with the acknowledgement of treaties of peace and friendship. We'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq peoples. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which Wolastoqiyik, Mi'kmaq, and Passamaquoddy peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1726. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq Wolastoqiyik title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. Thank you. Next is the oath of office. We do hereby accept the office of council and will diligently, faithfully, and impartially discharge to the best of our ability the duties of the office as may be imposed upon us by law. Next is the moment of reflection. Deputy Mayor Carmichael.
We have this month's Lillian Chardes of Lorne, Karina Lapointe of New Mills, Karen Scott of Beldoon, Donald Lapointe of Lorne, Diane McClellan of Beldoon.
A moment of silence. Thank you. Next is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes? If not, can we have a motion to accept?
M 2024-02-20-14, that the agenda be adopted as presented.
Can I get a seconder?
I'll second it.
On the question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passed. Next, statements of conflict of interest. If anyone has a conflict of interest, acknowledge it with the clerk. The adoption of, and I have the adoption of minutes. Could we get a motion for that? That's for the Committee of Whole from 8th of January, the regular council meeting of the 15th of January, and the special council meeting of the 23rd January.
I move M 2024-02-20-15, that the minutes of the Committee of Whole Council meeting of January 8th, 2024, the regular meeting of January 15th, 2024, and the special meeting of January 23rd, 2024 be adopted as presented.
Can I get a seconder?
I'll second it.
On the question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passed. Are there any business arising for the minute?
I have one item. Councillor Burke had asked for clarification on circular materials and the contamination rate that was reported at the last meeting. I did check with Jocelyn at CRSC, and it is a 15%, not 50% contamination rate currently for the area. The issue that they had with circular materials was that they would be charging a fee if we were over a contamination rate of 15. I think they were looking for 3%, which is unreasonable. And it would be that organization that would determine the contamination rate of the materials that was going in. So without having an independent audit of the rate of contamination, it's in their best interest, not in ours, for them to determine what the contamination rate is. So that was their issue, but you specifically asked about the 50%. It's actually 15.
All right, anything else? We don't have any presentations, petitions, or delegations. So next is statements by members of council. Councillor Burke.
There is a motion on the agenda for the hockey tournament for the insurance, exactly the same way it was last year. I did pass on all the information to our CAO to follow up, so I'm not exactly sure if the figures have remained the same or not. But with that said, the motion is there, so I will read the motion M 2024-02-20-16, that the Village of Beldoon pay PAL Insurance Brokers Canada Limited directly for the coverage of the Beldoon Gentlemen's Hockey Tournament insurance and collect the agreed-to funds of $200 from Mr. Mark Arsenault, and that the Village of Beldoon pay PAL Insurance directly for the canteen insurance and collect the entity of the amount directly from Mr. Steve Bott.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
On the question?
I was just wondering what the total amount is for the insurance.
So we just received a quote in. The total amount for the insurance is, for this year would be $622.80. $622.80. I believe last year, it was around $750. So there was, $200 that was contributed by Mr. Arsenault, and the rest was, covered by the municipality. So it has gone down a little bit, this year, around, $130.
Okay, and the hockey tournament would reimburse 200, but Mr. Botts would have to reimburse the entirety?
I believe that's how it was managed last time. Yes, I believe that,
That's how it was done last year, yes.
Oh, I remember. And so when a private entity is looking for funds from this village, isn't there a presentation or documents that need to be filled out? And have they been?
So in this instance, no, they haven't, but as it turns out, we received a message from PAL Insurance. This program for Mr. Botts is likely going to have to be taken out directly by him. So that was information that we had just received. His name would have to go into it. I would suspect that the payment might have to come from him. And then if we were looking to reimburse, then we could do that. I'm not exactly sure how it was managed last year. I wasn't unfortunately involved in it. But we just did receive today information from PAL Insurance that saying that we wouldn't be able to do that on his behalf. He's going to have to apply for that. So this might have to fall into Steve's.
I meant more like where the village is putting out funds to sponsor a private event. Like, it's not a fundraiser. It's not, the money is not going to any particular group. It's going back to the person who's doing it. So it was my understanding that there was supposed to be some sort of a presentation or documents filled out in order to apply for such thing.
Yeah, so yeah, for grants or anything like that, it's there's correspondence that needs to come in. So in this particular instance, that has not happened. So yes, if an entity or a person is looking for a grant, a specific payout, then yes, they do need to go through the social and environmental grant application.
So I'm wondering why this particular group then doesn't need to do that. They didn't do it last year, they're not doing it this year, so I'm just wondering, like, are we just gonna scrap that policy and just allow anybody who wants funds just come in and we're just gonna start handing out funds, or?
Any more questions or comments?
Yep, I have a couple. We have a policy in place. We have a number of policies in place that are not being followed. So I think it's completely inappropriate that this request has come in from a member of council when the policy specifically says that these types of items come through the CAO with a recommendation. It's the second request by the same individual or for the same event. If you look at the policy, we've already exceeded the allowable allotment for this type of event. And even more specifically, we don't typically sponsor individuals. They are organizations or not-for-profits or whatever. So this doesn't even fall within our policy to be making these donations to this event. We had the debate last year. We're going to have it again this year. Yes, it brings lots of people. Yes, the canteen gets to operate, whatever. It still falls outside of our policy. So if we don't like the policy, then we have means of changing them, but you can't just decide to ignore the policies when it's inconvenient.
Any more comments or questions? So all in favor? All those opposed? It's a tie vote. So. Okay, I vote yes.
Next is Counselor Carrier.
As many of you have probably noticed, I was missing from many meetings from November up until this evening. It's a small community. I know that most people have probably learned that my mother had been diagnosed with cancer and within 8 weeks was diagnosed and passed away. I didn't really feel that it was going to be necessary to speak about it publicly here, but since it was brought to my attention that Ron brought it up at the last meeting, saying that I was picking and choosing as to which meetings I was attending, I felt it necessary to bring it to your attention that I wasn't picking and choosing which meetings I was attending. I was caring for my dying mother. So if you notice that I wasn't here, please don't think that it was because I was picking and choosing, because it would have been a lot easier to be here than to be where I was.
Council? Then we'll move on to administration reports. Cioli.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the general operating fund, for January of 2024, we had a balance carried forward from December 2023 of $596,126.84. We had rec center deposits of $467.50, arena deposits of $5,901. We had the direct deposit from the province of New Brunswick at $379,403.58. Health and wellness deposits of, interest revenue of $3,592.05. Health and wellness deposits of $211. Food cycler revenue of $172.50. Room rentals at 3963 Main of $575. Fairs and festivals revenue of $1,764. Checks issued in January for a total of $956.57. Direct payments for accounts payable of $3,996.26. Direct payment to SNB for $10. WorkSafe New Brunswick of $2,662.52, and a MasterCard payment of $4,567.28. Outstanding checks for December of last year at $269,263.17, and for January 2024, $21,960.18. Left us with a current balance of, as of January 31st, of $566,717.85. In the reserve account balance, we have $2,838,607.59. In the capital operating reserve, we have an account balance of $218,124.84 and a gas tax fund balance of $584,103.45.
Thank you. Can we get a motion to accept the financial reports?
M 2024-02, 20-17 that the financial report be accepted as presented.
Can I get a seconder, please?
I'll second it.
On the question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passed. Next is the social and environmental grant report.
We have a motion there, 240220-18. There was one request that came in for the under the $250 threshold for the Atlantic Hockey Group, care of Caden Courier. There was also the sponsorship for Team Talent for the 100-mile challenge. I did provide that package to council. So there was various sponsor levels on that. I left that amount blank so that council can direct staff accordingly.
Can I get a mover for that motion?
So move.
Can I get a seconder?
So, sorry, yeah, we'll require an amount for the, exactly.
Can we open the floor to a discussion on the amount for the sponsorship for Team Talon for the 1,000-mile challenge? Any ideas to
Well,
council?
our policy allows for a $500 donation, so I'd make that recommendation.
Okay, so we have a $500 recommendation on the floor.
I'd be good with that.
Okay, so let's put the amount of $500 in there. And with that, then can we get a mover for that motion?
M 2024-0220-18, that social and environmental report of February 2024 be accepted as presented and recommendation approved, $250 to the Atlantic Hockey Group for Keaton Courier, $500 sponsorship to Team Talent for the 1,000-mile challenge.
Need a seconder?
I'll second it.
On the question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passed. Next to motions and resolutions. 9.1.
So for this one here, we did have some rezoning amendments that we had passed over the last couple months. There was a request from one of the applicants to receive back the fee that's associated to it. As I provided to council, you are within your means to redistribute that back to the applicant, provided that any conditions that went along with this are met, or if there's any extenuating circumstances. I did touch base with the Service Commission on this one just to make sure from their side that there was nothing that was really, any concerns from their side over, the process or anything that they wanted to make sure was addressed prior to sending this back, and there wasn't. They didn't have any concerns. A lot of the times, if there is conditions that go along with it and those conditions aren't met, it gives the council sort of a trigger to be able to make sure that those conditions are met. In this particular instance, it was just a straight up sort of rezoning so that he could operate his business there. So there's no concerns from their side. They can, they said it's at council's discretion. So there is a motion there, number 19, dependent on council's deliberation.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a second, or can we get a mover for that motion?
M 2022-02-20-19, that the Village of Balloon reimburse the $1,000 zoning amendment fee to Blair Guitar.
Get a seconder?
I'll second it.
On the question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passed. Before I move on to general correspondence, I want to recognize a member of the RCMP who's come in. I want to thank him for his service and for attending tonight's meeting. Thank you. General correspondence?
For items in, we had the contribution towards the Beldoon Gentlemen's Hockey Tournament, the request for the Beldoon Rec Center for the hosting of a charity event, the request for a portable toilet and garbage bin at the end of Smear Road, the sewer package letter for Shallure Drive, the New Brunswick Municipal Finance Corporation offer of debenture, donation request from Atlantic Hockey Group, and compensation for flood prevention. Correspondence reporting in, we had SPCA report for January 2024 and the Atlantic Railway Maintenance Report for January 2024. Correspondence out, we did provide the letter of support for the Shallure Bay Watershed Group, the notice of water rate adjustment for the industries, and the Beldoon Port Authority Gate Pass sponsorship.
Any questions or comments? Then we'll move on to the adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
M 2024-02-2020, that the meeting is adjourned at 7:20.
And a seconder?
I'll second it.
On the question, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passed. Meeting adjourned.